Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Tianon and today I'm filming a very big unhaul. I am very bad at controlling myself when it comes to book buying, and I'm also quite a bit of a hoarder, which doesn't end up being a good thing at all because I just have so many books that it gets a bit overwhelming, and I know I'm not going to reread a lot of them. I know some of them I'm never even going to read, which is a bit pointless in the first place, and I thought that it was finally the time to get rid of some books. I do have around 40 books to show you guys today, so that will definitely be a substantial amount off of these shelves. And like I said, I do have a hoarding problem when it comes to books, and it's more of a fact that I get attached to things quite quickly, and I definitely don't like to get rid of stuff because I've obviously spent money on that thing. Some of these I've read, some of these I haven't read, but in my head I think, oh, what if I do actually like it, and if I get rid of it I won't get to experience the book and maybe I'll miss out on something. And in reality I know deep down that I am just not interested in any of these books anymore. Some of them are from genres that I don't really read from anyway, and some of them I do have multiple copies of, so it's just a load of different things adding up to a very big pile of books that I want to get rid of. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these yet because obviously charity shops and that are a bit funny at the minute with receiving items, and a lot of these, I'm not going to lie, are basically in brand new condition, so I keep my books very pristine. So I think I will probably sell a few on my personal Depop. Like I said, I have spent quite a lot of money on these books, and I am a student, which means I don't actually have a lot of money. So I think I will list a few of these books on Depop, or if you guys see any books that you're interested in, please leave a comment down below or DM me on Twitter and I'm sure we'll come up with something. The links to my Depop and Twitter page are always linked down below for you guys, so if you're ever interested in seeing if I'm selling anything or if you want to see what I'm getting up to on Twitter, then please feel free to click those links. And now the last thing I do want to say is that I am very sorry if you see some of your favourite books in here. To be honest, it's just personal taste. I think this year I've definitely figured out what I like and don't like in books, so I don't feel any sort of remorse in a way of the fact that I'm getting rid of these because I definitely know what I want to be reading now, as opposed to before I was just kind of buying books from all different genres, all different age ranges because I thought that's what people wanted to see. But I found that that is actually such a big waste of time and money, and I really want to focus that towards the books and the genres that I know I'm going to enjoy, and I could get rid of these books and send them on to people who do actually really want to read them. I don't quite know how I'm going to organise this yet. I do have a couple of piles in front of me, so I think I'm just going to grab some and go. So without further ado, let's just get into the unhaul. The first book that I'm getting rid of is Bone Crier's Moon by Catherine Purdy, and as you can see I do have two copies. This is the Fairy Loot edition with the green sprayed edges, and this is the Owl Crate edition with the blue cover and sort of gold sprayed edges. You guys are probably thinking, why do I have two special editions of this book and why am I getting rid of both of them? Well, basically I don't really like this cover at all. I much prefer the Fairy Loot edition, so I knew I was going to get rid of this one from the start. I've just been holding on to it because I'm no longer subscribed to Owl Crate, so I don't receive their special edition books anymore, but I really don't need this. I don't need another copy of it, and so I'm definitely getting rid of this one. And then I am getting rid of this one because it is a damaged copy, so I did get a replacement sent in from Fairy Loot, so I will still have a physical copy of this book, but I don't need two. And like I said, this one is damaged. It's definitely not anything crazy. I've fixed most of it, to be honest with you, because I wasn't actually sure if I would get a replacement, but I don't know how well you can see. The top of the book is dented a little bit, and I think I fixed everything else because once again I wasn't sure if I was going to get a replacement. This came in March, I believe, and my replacement didn't get here until about October, I want to say. Obviously with what's going on in the world it took quite a bit of time, so I tried to fix it up as best I could. But Fairy Loot are an amazing company and they did send out a replacement for me, which I'm so grateful for. But yeah, other than that little dent now, I'd say this is in near perfect condition, as is this one. And I haven't actually read either one of these books. I ended up listening to the audiobook for Bone Crier's Moon, so yeah, these have never been read and they are in quite good condition. It's just the fact that I have 3 copies of this book and I definitely don't need that many. Next up I have another Owl Crate book, and that one is Pride by Abigails. When this first came in the box, I can't lie, I wasn't too excited. It's nothing against the book or the author, it's just that I've never read Pride and Prejudice before and this is a retelling of that, and because I don't have any connection to the story and I don't plan on reading it anytime soon. I'm just not interested in a modern retelling of it. I do feel so bad getting rid of this though, because the artwork inside is just absolutely stunning. I think the standard edition has a blue cover, and I'm guessing everything on the inside is blue as well. So this was a special edition made especially for Owl Crate, but another one that I don't think I'd get to anytime soon, and if I do want to get to it, it is on Scribd, so I can definitely listen to the audiobook if I change my mind about this in the future. But yeah, this would definitely be one that would be sitting on my shelves for a while, and yeah, I think it would be one that I just keep putting off year after year. And then next up we have quite a new release, and I feel so bad that I'm getting rid of this, but it was just one that I didn't really click with, and that is A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. So this is a young adult fantasy in a contemporary setting, and I think that's where I didn't quite gel with this book. I read this not too long ago actually. It was for Becca's Bookopoly-thon, the 24-hour edition I believe, so I will leave that linked up above if you do want to see my vlog for that. But I did read this, and this is another one that I did listen to on Scribd, so I didn't even read the physical copy. I definitely feel like I got a lot more out of it through the audiobook because it was easier for me to follow along with the characters, and it was definitely a good pace to keep me interested. But I found recently that any sort of contemporary setting just pulls me out of the story. If I dive into a fantasy world, I want to be fully immersed in a world that's completely different and separate to our own, because I read to escape most of the time, and especially the world we've been living in recently, it's just been absolutely awful, so I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. And yeah, this unfortunately is one that I've decided that I probably won't reread, and if I do, I will definitely listen to the audiobook again, so I don't really have a need for the physical copy, which is so sad because this is stunning. I mean, look at the cover, it's absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, it's one that I have read and did enjoy. It's just the fact that I don't think I will ever pick this book up physically, and so I'd rather it go to someone who definitely would enjoy this a lot more and would take a lot more from this book as well. Next up I have Toil and Trouble, 15 Tales of Women and Witchcraft, edited by Jessica Spotswood and Tess Sharp. This is one that I've had on my shelves for years, and I've tried to read this 2 Halloweens in a row and I just cannot get into it. I think it's because it's an anthology, so it's made up of a lot of different short stories, and I feel like I just prefer one long novel instead of a load of different short ones, which is so annoying. I know that's the point of an anthology, but again, I bought this when I thought I had to be buying a load of different books, a load of different genres, and I think I bought this for Spookathon actually, for the first time I participated in it. I saw this book everywhere, so I decided to pick it up, and yeah, I just haven't really gotten to it. I still have a bookmark in, and I got to page 69, so yeah, I definitely don't think I will ever fully read this. Again, if I ever want to pick it up, I feel like I could get the ebook for this, so I don't need the physical copy in my collection. Next up we have The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. I bought this when it first came out because I saw it in Tesco or Asda I believe, and it was only £5, which is a really good deal for a hardcover book, and I don't think I even read the synopsis, to be honest with you. I'd seen this floating around online and I decided to pick it up then and there because it was quite cheap, and again because a lot of people were talking about it at the time. Again, reading the back of this now, it does sound really interesting, but I've had this on my shelves since it came out, and I think this was 2016. I'll just double check. Yeah, so it says first published in Great Britain in 2016. So I've had this book for 4 years and I still haven't read it, and I don't plan on reading it anytime soon, to be honest with you. Like I said, the story does sound very intriguing, but for me personally, I've got so many books that I want to prioritise that I doubt I'd get to this book this year. So this is another great example of me buying books because I've heard about them online and I just wanted to follow the crowd and be reading what was out at that current time. Obviously I didn't get to it, and 4 years down the line I don't think I will pick it up anytime soon either. The next 3 books I'm going to show you guys are all sci-fi books, which is a genre that I'm very unfamiliar with still. It's a bit hit or miss with me. I've read some sci-fis that I absolutely love, and I've read some that I just cannot wrap my head around, and these sort of fall in the middle of that, if that makes sense. So the first one is another book that I got in an Owl Crate, and that is I Hope You Get This Message by Farah Nazrish. It still has the little author letter inside as well, so that is definitely a cool little extra in this. But I believe this is about the end of the world, and we follow 3 characters as they come to terms with the fact that the world is ending, and I guess follow their last last days on Earth. I'm not too sure, but stories like that really creep me out, and unless it's a fantasy setting, I don't think I'd be able to handle it. I don't really know much more about this book other than that, but I can tell that if I was ever in the mood to pick up a new book, this would not be it. I feel like I'd have to be in such a specific mood to read this book, and to be honest, I'd rather just not put myself through that. And I find that's the thing with some subscription boxes, and Owl Crate in particular. I did have a few boxes which included books that I wouldn't necessarily pick up for myself, which I guess is good in some aspects, but when it's stuff like this and the whole box is based around this, it just definitely wasn't for me, and I felt like I was spending a lot of money on things that I wouldn't really enjoy, which is a shame. And I think that a lot of people would definitely like this. I've heard really good reviews about it, but for me personally, it's not one that I would get to anytime soon, so I am going to just get rid of it. Next up, we have some books that I'm quite torn about actually, but those are Zenith and Nexus by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. Sasha Alsberg is one of the first booktubers that I ever subscribed to, and I've been following her videos for years now. And so when she published a book in 2016 again, oh my gosh, I've got loads of books from 2016, I decided to support her even though sci-fi isn't really my favourite genre. But I read this, it was okay. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. But then Nexus came out, and this shocked me a bit because I did enjoy this a lot more than Zenith. I'm not sure if it's because I listened to the audiobook, so it was definitely easier to get through, but it was definitely a lot more fast-paced than the first one. However, I'm not sure if I'd ever reread these books, and recently Sasha has come under fire because she has been doing a lot of questionable things and been posting about it online and just a lot of different things like that. I'm sure if you're on book Twitter then you will know all about it. I understand that people can make mistakes. I'm definitely not the most perfect person at all, nowhere near that, but I feel like if you have such a big following and if you are an author yourself, you should be aware of what you can and can't post about and sell and do. So I'm definitely in a weird mindset towards her at the minute. It's very hard because, like I said, I've been watching her for years. I've literally grown up watching her channel and her videos, but recently she's just been doing some questionable things, and I'm still following her on Instagram now, but every time I see her post a story I just get quite angry because it's just a whole lot of things that she probably shouldn't be doing during a pandemic. So I've decided that I am going to be unhauling these two. I'm not sure if I will completely get rid of them or if I will just keep them at my mum's house for now, because I have actually met Sasha a few years ago. I think it was 2 years ago now, and I did get the book signed, and I do also have a signed book plate from Lindsay Cummings as well, who is the other author for this book. So it does definitely hold some sentimental value for me, but as of today I don't think I want them on my shelves anymore, and I feel like if I ever did want to reread this book then I would just listen to the audiobook because, like I said, it was a lot easier to get through than the book itself. So yes, I am going to be saying goodbye to Zenith and Nexus. Next up I have Son of the Shadows and Child of the Prophecy by Juliette Marillier. I did have all 3 books in this trilogy, but I've lost the first one somewhere, and I think it was during my move, so I don't know what on earth happened to that, but I have now purchased the first book on my Kindle. I can't even remember the name of it, but this is the Seven Waters trilogy, and this was one of the books that Myth Take were going to read for their book club. I can't remember what month it was. I don't even think it was this year. I think it was last year at some point because I was still in my flat, but they were going to be reading, is it Child of the Forest? I think it's Child of the Forest, but don't quote me on that. And I picked it up and I decided to buy the other 2 as well because it's really hard to get your hands on some Juliette Marillier books. They only come in these mass market paperbacks and they sold out everywhere. So I decided that because I was buying the first one, I would just buy the second and third anyway. But to be honest with you guys, I don't think I'd ever read the physical books. I don't know how well you can see, but the spine is completely cracked and it's all sort of bent and sticking up. I did have to buy these secondhand, which I buy a lot of books secondhand anyway, that's not a problem for me, but they are quite battered and not in the best condition anyway, and I feel like it would just be easier for me to buy them on my Kindle and read them that way. Next up we have a trilogy, and I'm not 100% if I do actually want to get rid of these books. Please let me know if you think I would like them. It's one that I've been umming and ahhing about for a while now because it is just a YA staple, but that is the Divergent trilogy by Veronica Roth. That includes Divergent, Allegiant and Insurgent. And I've actually never read these books, but I have watched the film and I enjoyed the film, but I know it's definitely not as good of a representation as people would have wanted, and I feel like that's why I'm unsure about getting rid of these or not, because I did enjoy the film when I watched it, and that was quite a while back now. It was a couple of years ago. I think it was when it first came out. So I bought these in order to get into the actual story and to read it for myself and experience it for myself. I have been spoiled for the ending. I feel like if you haven't read the series yet, you definitely will know what's happened, even though you don't have any connection to the characters whatsoever. So I don't actually know if it's worth reading. I feel like it's such an interesting concept though, but I'm just not sure if it's worth the time and effort anymore, to be honest with you. I think I am going to hold off on selling these now. I am going to let them stick around for a bit just to see if I do want to pick them up. Like I said, please let me know if you think I should keep these and read them. I'm in two minds about it, to be honest with you. I definitely want to experience the book for myself because it was so loved when it first came out. It was a massive hit, and I would like to see what the story is actually about, but it is 3 books long and I don't know if I want to commit to that, especially since there are films available now. But at the minute I do plan on getting rid of these. Next up we have the same type of book as the Divergent series, and that is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I was never too interested in this book and this series, but I went to Yelk in 2018, which is a young adult literature convention in London, and they were selling this edition of the book because the film was just being released that year and it was also signed by the author. So I decided to buy it, but I did start reading it and I got up to page 86. The bookmark is still there again, and I just never carried on with it, and I don't know if I really want to, because again there's a film out for this now, so I feel like I can definitely watch that and get the gist of the story. But it's another one that I would love to read. I just don't know if there's any point in doing so now. We are definitely past that phase of books in BookTube. Again, for this one, please let me know down below what you thought of it if you've read it and whether you think I'd enjoy it, because I would love to know. It's another one that I'm just not sure about, and I did enjoy it when I started reading it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it now, and I just don't know if it's worth keeping it because I probably won't get to it anytime soon. Then we have The Sacred Sword by Scott Mariani, and I don't know anything about this book. I picked this up about 3 or 4 years ago in WH Smith because they were doing a blind book buying thing where they'd basically wrapped up the books and just stuck the synopsis onto the wrapping, so you didn't actually know what book you were getting, but if they sounded interesting you could pick it up and see what you would find. And this definitely sounded interesting to me, but I believe it's part of a series of books. I'm not even sure. Yeah, I feel like it is because there's just loads of books on the inside of the cover there, and I feel like you've followed the main character throughout a load of books to get to this point, and I definitely don't want to go back and have to read all the stories before this one in order to understand it. To be fair though, I really like the fact that this has a few content warnings on there. So it says content guide, terror, thrills, conspiracy and drama, which is something that I feel like every book should have. They should definitely have content warnings or trigger warnings, even if it's just on the back like that. I feel like it would make such a difference to people in terms of picking up the books. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this one came out in 2012, and if I haven't gotten to it by now, I don't think I ever will, so it's time to say goodbye. The same type of thing goes for Mind Games by Terry Terry. This sounded so interesting to me when I first picked it up, and honestly guys, it was about 6 or 7 years ago now. I can't quite remember, but it was around the time that I started watching BookTube, and I thought it was just really interesting, and it's one that I've kept on to for a while, but I honestly have no clue what it's about. I haven't picked it up in 6 years that I've owned it, and I doubt that I'm going to pick it up anytime soon. It is also quite a chunky book, and I don't really want to be dedicating my time towards a book that I'm not 100% sure that I want to read. I would much rather read a book that I'm very excited for. Next up we have 2 that I'm getting rid of because they are quite damaged. The first of those being First Class Murder by Robin Stevens, and I need to show you guys this. So that is the colour that it's meant to be, and that is the colour of the spine. So this has had very bad light damage. As you can see, the spine is like completely yellow and it's meant to be this lovely orange colour, and I have since bought the full set of these murder mystery books, as you can see up there, so I can get rid of my damaged copy. And the same goes for Frost Heart by Jamie Litzler. I ordered this one off Amazon and it did arrive quite badly damaged, so I don't know if you can see, but the corner here has been folded. We have a bit of the cover that's actually ripped off, and it was just a bit battered all over, to be honest with you. And so I did actually get a replacement, which is on my shelf just here, so I don't feel bad about getting rid of this one. Next up we have The Bells by Daniel Clayton. This is one that I actually really enjoyed, but it's another another one that I actually listened to the audiobook of, and I did really enjoy that experience. So if I did ever want to reread it and move on to the second book, then I think I would just listen to the audiobook. As well as that, it is actually a lot bigger than your normal paperback. I'll try and show you here without the glare of the ring lights, but it is a very weird size, and so there's no place on my bookshelf for it to be displayed and for it to look nice, if that makes sense. So yeah, I have nothing against this book. I did really enjoy it. Like I said, I think I did give it 4 stars. It's just the fact that it's a very weird size, and I do have the audiobook if I ever want to re-listen to it, which I definitely will, because I do need to read the second book. I might even buy the standard paperback edition soon, who knows, but for now I am going to be getting rid of this one. Next up we have The Shadow Queen by CJ Redwine. This is a Snow White retelling, which I actually did really enjoy, but I do have the rest of the books by this author in hardcover, and I definitely want to try and get the hardcover for this one. I don't know how well you can see, but I did completely break the spine of this one as well, because I was reading it on a train on the way to Yalk actually. So it's another one that's been on my shelves for quite a while, but it's just the fact that I definitely want the hardcover at some point, and I feel okay with getting rid of the paperback for now. Then we have The Hand, the Eye and the Heart by Zoe Marriott, which is another book that was picked for Myth Take. I didn't explain Myth Take earlier, sorry. It's a book club hosted by Ashley and Charlotte, which focuses on reading retellings, and this is actually a retelling of Mulan. And I really enjoyed the start of this book, but it went downhill so quickly. I can't even remember a lot of the story now. I just know at the time of reading it, I wasn't really the biggest fan, and I've been meaning to get rid of it since then. Again, it's probably down to personal preference. I may not have enjoyed it, but I know someone out there definitely will, and so I don't mind passing it along to someone else. Right, so I'm just checking, and we have reached the last 2 stacks, and I will just tell you now that all of these books are contemporaries, which is something I've realised that I really don't enjoy reading. For some reason, I've kept buying a load of contemporary books across the years. I've read a few of them, but the more I've read, the more I've realised it's just not my genre, and I'd really rather not read anything from it. Again, please don't come for me. It's just personal preference. Some of these books I did enjoy, but I just won't read them again purely because I've read the story once, I kind of know what goes on, and I am much more of a fantasy reader, so if I ever do want to pick up a book, it will probably be fantasy. So I feel like I'll get the most controversial one out of the way first, and that is Love, Simon by Becky Albertalli, otherwise known as Simon versus the Homo sapiens Agenda. As you can tell, this is the movie cover, so I bought this when the film was released, and I have read this and I did really enjoy it, but again, it's another one that I won't reread. There is a film out now, so if I do ever want to revisit this story, I can definitely do so through that. I know that this is a lot of people's favourite books, that it helped them through a very tough time in their lives, that it still continues to help them to this day, and I really appreciate the novel for what it is, but again, it's one that I read and enjoyed but don't want to reread, and I feel like I can pass it along to someone who would definitely benefit from having this book. Next up we have Paper Towns and Will Grayson, both by John Green. Again, 2 that I've read but definitely don't plan on rereading. For some reason I thought Paper Towns was going to be a lot more interesting than it actually was. The ending was really anticlimactic for me for some reason, and I know it's meant to be that way, and it's meant to show you why you don't need to be chasing something when you have what you need at home, sort of thing. But yeah, not one that I plan on reading again anytime soon, and another one that has a film that I could turn to very easily if I wanted to revisit it. And then Will Grayson, I don't know where my head was at when I was reading this book, but I did not realise that we had 2 different people called Will Grayson in this, so I was so confused for the majority of this book. I think it was only in the last 100 pages or so that I realised that we had 2 different people called Will Grayson. So my experience of this book was just really not a good one. I must be one of the stupidest people on this planet, but yeah, I just did not click with this at all. And I'm very embarrassed by that fact, so I don't want a reminder of it on my shelf. I would rather just get rid of it. Next up we have Flawed, and that is by a load of different authors actually. So we have Sarah Bernard, Holly Bourne, Tanya Bryan, Non Pratt, Melinda Salisbury, Lisa Williamson and Eleanor Wood. I bought this one specifically for Yalk because a load of these authors, or all of them actually, I'm not too sure, but they were actually attending Yalk, so I thought I would read this and get the book signed, which I think think I did actually, let me check. Oh, I did. I don't know if I want to get rid of it now. So it says to Rhiannon and it's signed by a bunch of different authors. Oh, do you know what? I might have to keep this in my mum's house now because I feel really, really bad if I get rid of this. But this is one that I did enjoy at the time of reading it, but it's one that I don't think I would ever reread. But it is a really good story about friendship and how one thing can link people together for a lifetime. It's a very interesting novel and I feel like it tackles a load of different things actually, which would definitely give some representation to a load of different people. But I feel very, very strange getting rid of it because it is written by a load of different UK YA authors, which I definitely want to support. But yeah, I'm not sure. This might go to my mum's house actually for now, and I'll decide what to do about it later. Either way, it's not staying on these shelves, but we'll see what happens. Then we have Second Chance Summer and The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. I read The Unexpected Everything about 2 years ago and I did really, really enjoy it actually, because it features a girl who has to become a dog walker to make some money, and she meets a boy who is an aspiring author, or rather he is an author but he's stuck on an idea for the second book in this massive franchise that he's created. So all of those little elements were really fun to see in a book, but I'm not gonna lie, it's a chunky one. It took me quite a while to get through and I don't think it's one that I would ever reread. And then we have this one which I haven't read, but the more I look at the synopsis the more I think it's just not for me. I think it's about two people who were childhood friends who then spend a summer together at an old beach house and I guess fall in love. I'm not sure, but it's just not one that I feel particularly inclined to pick up. So I have decided that it's finally time to get rid of it off my shelves. Next up, we have one that I've tried to read for so long and I just cannot get through it, and that is History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. I think the reason that I've held on to this for so long is because of the cover. So this is an exclusive cover that was made for Zoella's book club, which you can see has the sticker on right there, but it is so pretty and reflective that I just really did not want to get rid of it. If you know me, you'll know that blue is my favourite colour, so this just caught my eye immediately and I just love looking at it so much. But like I said, it's one that I've started about 3 or 4 times and I just cannot get into it. I think the whole concept is a bit strange, to be honest with you, as well, and it just doesn't really sit right with me. I can get how some people would use what has happened and become friends out of it and become close and connected, but I don't see the whole relationship type working out and I just feel like that is really disrespectful and weird. Don't know if that's just me. Like I said, I haven't fully read this book, I've never finished it, so I don't know what actually happens, but the premise of it is just something that has definitely put me off and I think it's finally time to say goodbye. Another one that was part of the Zoella book club is Orbiting Jupiter by Gary D. Schmidt. This is one that I did read for the reading rush, I believe, when it was still booktubeathon, so about 2 years ago, maybe even more than that actually, because I was still living at my mum's. But this is a very short read. It's only about 150 pages. I honestly can't remember a lot about this. It definitely did have an impact on me at the time reading it. I remember feeling very affected by this book when I did read it, but it's one that I don't think I will ever pick up again, and I just think it's time for me to get rid of it off my shelves. Right, I didn't realise, but I think I actually have 2 Zoella book club book picks left, so I will just grab those and just show you them now. The next one being The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord. Again, I don't have a clue what this is about really. I know it's about a girl falling in love with a boy and that's pretty much it, and I'm just not about that, to be honest with you, so I've decided to just get rid of it and to give someone else the opportunity to read this. And the same goes with Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. Now this is one that I've been debating about getting rid of because Bridget Kemmerer is the author of A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which is a book that I absolutely fell in love with. So I wasn't sure if I was going to give this a chance or not, but to be honest, I think I'm just better off reading her fantasy works and leaving the contemporaries to someone else. I feel like this is definitely going to be a hard-hitting one as well, and I'm definitely not in the mood for something like that anytime soon, but I feel so bad about getting rid of this because the cover is absolutely beautiful. Again, it's an exclusive edition. I think the normal cover is blue and this is obviously bright yellow, which is beautiful, but yeah, it's just one that I don't think I would get to, and if I did, it would be quite a few years down the line. Next up, we have a book that I knew I wouldn't like from the start, and I don't know why I picked it up, but that is Royals by Rachel Hawkins. This is a very old cover. I believe they have been rebranded now and redesigned, so they definitely don't look like this anymore, but I'll just read you the tagline. It says, "An all-American girl, a British prince, a show-stealing sister, and the wedding of a lifetime." As you can tell by my channel name, I'm Welsh, and the Welsh don't really like anything to do with the monarchy because they represent a very bad time in our history, and I'd say most of the Welsh community do want independence, and we have been mistreated and underrepresented by the royal family for years, since we were conquered basically, and since our last monarch was killed in 1282. I don't want to go into this now because I know a lot of people will have a go at me for that. I don't have anything against them personally, I just don't like the fact that our country is controlled by a monarchy that doesn't have our best interest at heart. I know that probably sounds very hard to believe for some people, and people are going to have a go at me, but if you live in Wales and you are Welsh through and through, then you will know what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to say more because that is just a whole other different thing that I don't need to talk about in this video. But it is basically the background to why I just really shouldn't have picked this book up. It's another reason actually why I haven't read anything such as Red, White and Royal Blue, because in that one there is a Prince of Wales, which they don't really have a right to include in that book because the last Prince of Wales was killed by the English monarchy, and now Prince Charles is the Prince of Wales when he doesn't speak Welsh and has nothing to do with Wales. But there we are. There's my little rant for today. But yeah, this was just not for me from the start. I get why some people love it. I get the whole idea of a British prince and how it can be alluring to some, but to me it just really wasn't, and I just want to get rid of this book as soon as possible. But now it's finally time to get rid of it and never look at it again. Next up we have The Summer I Turned Pretty and It's Not Summer Without You by Jenny Han, and I don't know if you can see, but this is still in its packaging. I never opened this, and to be honest I don't think I ever will. The only reason I picked this up is because I did see it in WH Smith and it was down to £6, which is better than 60% off apparently, and I cannot refuse a deal, so I did pick it up, but I don't think I will ever get to these, so I am going to get rid of them. Oh, I lied, we have another Zoella book club book, and that is The One Memory of Flora Banks. I tried to read this for the Owls Magical Readathon back in May, I believe, and I did not like this at all. I really did not like our main character, and I think you're meant to feel sorry for her, but the choices she made and the actions that she took were just absolutely horrible. She only cared about herself and not other people, and it just didn't sit well with me, and I had to put it down because I just wasn't vibing with this book and it was making me really angry. Then we have Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake. Again, this is one I bought because Molly from Mind of Molly was hosting a readathon, and this was the book club pick for that readathon. Again, it's just another one that I didn't gel with, and I know now that it's the fact that it is a contemporary and that I just don't like reading them, especially towards the winter months where I just want to read a very dense and heavy adult fantasy. So I put this book down and never picked it back up, and I feel like someone would definitely benefit from reading this book, so I am going to pass it along, and hopefully it does have a really big impact on someone else. Right, you'll be happy to know that I only have 5 books left for this unhaul. I feel like I've been filming for hours, but we're almost there. The next 2 that I'm getting rid of are Everything Everything and The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I don't want to repeat myself, but again, both contemporaries. I've read this one, I haven't read this one, but I don't think I will ever want to pick them up again. They are beautiful covers though, which is why I think I've been holding on to them for so long, but it's finally time to pass them along to someone else, and hopefully they will enjoy them and want to keep them. And then the next one I feel really bad about because it is quite a new release, and I did buy it with the intention of reading it, but again, it's just sat on my shelf since I ordered it, and I just don't know when I'll ever get to it. But that is Frankly in Love by David Yoon, and David Yoon is the husband of Nicola Yoon. Again, I feel like this would be such an important read for some people, and I do really want to get to it. I just don't know when I would. I do have a very busy year ahead of me right now, and a lot of books that I definitely want to prioritise before this one, so hopefully it can find its way to the hands of someone who really does appreciate it and definitely wants to read it. Oh my gosh, another Zoella book club book. As you can tell, I went through a phase, but this one I've heard a lot about, and it's another one that I'm not sure if I actually should get rid of, but that is Girlhood by Kat Clark. And it says on the back that it's emotive, creepy and funny, so I don't know what I thought this book was, but I'm just not sure. Oh, okay, so the main character's sisters died. She thought that nothing could come between us, I don't know who the us is, and then a new girl shows up. So again, a very typical kind of contemporary story which follows our main character and a potential love interest who is definitely going to help her overcome her grief and find out who she really is. I think this would definitely be a good one if you do enjoy contemporary, but again, I don't, and so I am going to get rid of this one. And then lastly, another one that I'm in two minds about, because this is one that I've had for years but I still haven't picked it up, and that is Off the Page by Jodie Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. And this is one that sounded amazing, but I just haven't gotten to it and I don't actually know when I will. But I believe in this one the characters of certain books come to life, which is such an amazing concept, but I just don't think I'd ever read it. And like I've already mentioned, I don't really like contemporary fantasy either, so it's just something that I'm not sure if I'd enjoy, and I'd rather pass it along to someone else who would probably get a lot more out of it. And you'll be happy to know that that is the end of this unhaul. I feel like I've gotten rid of so many books, so I'm very happy with myself, but I am sorry that this has been such a long video. It is also my first ever unhaul that I've filmed, so if you have any suggestions on how to better my setup or anything for next time, then please let me know. I don't know if it's quite boring just showing you the book and listing it. I was going to go through my bookshelves with you and pick some books off that I wanted to unhaul, but I thought that would just take forever, and again, I'm very indecisive, so it probably wouldn't have worked out as well. At least now I've sat down, I've got the books in front of me, and I can just tell you as I'm going, and I don't really have room to change my mind. So yeah, please let me know what you thought of this. Also, if there are any books that you think I should definitely keep and read, then please leave them down in the comments below, and I will be checking them out and sorting through a lot of different ones. But otherwise, like I said, you can send me a message if you're interested in buying any of these, or they will be listed on my Depop account, which is linked down below. But that is it for today's video, guys. I am going to move on to the Welsh word of the day now. I think I did forget to do this in my last video, so I am sorry about that, but I've decided that it's only fitting to give you guys the Welsh translation for clean, and that is glanhau. Glanhau. And that is definitely something that I need to do now because the books are all in front of me and it's just a massive mess. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, as well as clicking the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. It truly does mean the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!